Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from the On3 studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Today is Wednesday, April 17. Transfer portal, it's been open only about 24 hours, but already a ton of action. We're going to talk some transfer portal intel here in a minute. But first, a big QB domino is coming off the board, or maybe depending on when you're watching, has already come off the board. Ryan Montgomery is the number 14 ranked quarterback in the country. He is one of 5 uncommitted QBs in the top 25. Not a whole lot left. I am going to go with UGA. Maybe that's where he ends up. Maybe not. UF South Carolina also involved. He is set to announce today at about 2 p.m. Central Time. So depending on when you're watching this, hey, if I got it wrong, let me know. Comment section below, but I'm going Georgia. All right. We got a big show today. We're going to do a big Colorado update. Then we'll go to Austin, check in on the Longhorns. They got a big spring game weekend and a ton of visitors. But first, the transfer portal is open for business. Spring window opened yesterday. A lot of action. And I got portal expert Pete Nakos on with us to break it all down. But first, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. I'm trying to get this thing to 50K. We're almost there. Help me out. Hit subscribe. All right. Let's bring on the great Pete Nakos. Pete, like I said, portal's been open for about 24 hours. Biggest surprise to you so far was?
So, Josh, my biggest surprise at day one of the transfer portal was Oregon State running back Damian Martinez announced he was going to take 5 visits. That number has now dropped to 4. He is not going to visit Tennessee. But that number 4 is still a little surprising to me. For almost a week now, I've heard a lot about Miami. Miami's going to do an in-home tonight in Dallas with Damian Martinez. I'm not saying this recruitment's going to be over after tonight, but it's going to be really interesting to see how this all shuffles out from here.
Yeah, there's a ton of action going on right now. Let's start with wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith. He is leaving Penn State. I know you guys wrote an insider piece on him yesterday. His recruitment really heating up. Who's involved here?
I really like Texas A&M, Auburn, Colorado, and USC right here. West Virginia is going to make an effort as well. I know Miami was brought up in some conversations, but after talking to a few sources at Miami, it's clear that Keandre Lambert-Smith is not going to be the guy for the Hurricanes.
Okay, very interesting. All right, now we're going to talk a little Cormani McClain, the former 5-star quarterback who linked up with Deion Sanders out in Colorado, only lasted a year with the Buffs. Yesterday, he put his name in the portal. It looks like he's going to transfer. Who do you think some of the suitors are for Cormani McClain?
Spoke with a couple sources already today, and I know USC's been brought up, but I think USC is more so just doing their homework on Cormani McClain. I don't know if they're about to go all in on the Colorado quarterback. The one school I have circled, and some few others have as well, is South Florida. It's close to home. He has a lot of familiarity with the cornerback coach there. That's who he wanted to be his cornerback coach at Miami. And then he ultimately flipped to Colorado. But yeah, South Florida is the school that I have my eyes on. And I think what Cormani McClain's going to prioritize most in the transfer portal is just maybe getting his career a little bit back on track. I don't think year one in Colorado went exactly how he and his camp had planned.
Yeah, why ultimately do you think he left Colorado? And I've been hearing some rumors, the message boards are talking. Any chance that he could land back at Colorado after all this?
I don't foresee that at the moment. But with Cormani McClain, and Josh, you and I know this from his high school recruitment, you can't really ever count anyone out. That departure from Miami to Colorado during his high school recruitment was one of the crazier things of that cycle. So yeah, I don't see him landing back in Boulder. It seems like he is definitely kind of separating himself from Colorado with the decision to enter the portal. And I know there's plenty of speculation yesterday on Twitter about his reason to leave, but I think at the end of the day, he just wants to go somewhere to really kind of revamp his career.
That makes sense. Are the bridges burned at Florida and Miami with Cormani McClain?
I don't know if they're burned. I think a lot of people, though, are just – they know that things didn't go perfectly at Colorado, and I think a lot of people are skeptical if they want to bring him in right now. And I don't know if they're fully burned, but at the same time, I don't think that he's someone that they have high up on their portal board at the moment.
All right, let's go a little deeper on Damian Martinez and his recruitment. He's leaving Oregon State, one of the best backs in the portal right now, and Miami has lost 2 backs to the portal. You mentioned that the Canes were among the teams, but are they the favorite right now for Damian Martinez? And if not, who is?
You know, Miami has been the favorite for Damian Martinez in my eyes since he announced his plans to enter the transfer portal. So when I said the biggest surprise was him taking visits, that's why. I kind of thought it was going to be a one and done. I think Miami's going to make the effort to do that tonight with that in-home. And we'll see how it plays out. So, yeah, he's going to go to Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Arizona too. Tennessee was initially in that bunch, but he since backed off on that. Tennessee isn't recruiting him. I would keep an eye on Penny Boone at Tennessee, actually, the Louisville transfer. But yeah, I think Damian Martinez and Miami is a good match, if barring any unforeseen portal entries at the running back position.
Right. Now, amongst those 4 visits, where is Miami sitting in relation to the other trips?
So they're going to get the in-home tonight, Wednesday night. They're going to go see him in Dallas, the running back coach there. And then Miami's also going to get the last visit, which you know more than I do, Josh. That's from high school recruiting. I mean, that says a lot.
Yeah, it says a lot in high school recruiting, but in the transfer portal, sometimes we see these guys go on a visit and make a decision on the visit. So I was just wondering if you think that he will take all 4 of those visits. Does he get to Miami?
You know, I'm still sticking with if they're going to make an in-home tonight before he even goes on a single OV anywhere, I think that says a lot about how highly prioritized he is at Miami. And I think it's worth saying that his agent's based out of Miami. I don't think that's the only reason why Miami's up there, but there's definitely some familiarity with the city.
Well, they lost 2 good backs in the portal. Picking up a Damian Martinez would fill a major need for the Canes. All right, let's move on to defensive lineman Philip Bliddy. He's leaving Indiana, one of the most highly coveted defensive linemen in the portal. There's not a ton of quality there, but Philip Bliddy is one of them. I know Auburn's heavily involved. Who else?
So Auburn and LSU have gotten visits. I've talked to someone at Washington. He visited the Huskies very early this month, and they're still in communication. And then, he's going to make a visit to Oklahoma this weekend for the spring game. I think something to really emphasize here, Josh, is if we see some more defensive linemen jump in the portal, I think that could really shake some things up for Philip Bliddy. He's a really talented guy with a lot of experience, but just talking to some sources, like Washington is not going to hold off for a commitment. So I think this weekend at Oklahoma will say a lot. And we were just talking about Damian Martinez too, but I'm a little surprised he's gone on all of these visits. He canceled an Arizona one, but in total, he's going to go on 4.
Wow. All right. Any timeline for his decision?
He is circled early May. So I think he's really trying to find a spot where he knows he can be a contributor, compete for a national championship, and this is going to be his last year of college football. So I think making sure that he gets the right playing time to make a case for the NFL is definitely important here.
All right, good updates on some of the top available players. Before I let you go, though, I want to talk about Florida State. We're seeing them. There's something going on with Florida State right now. They're being sanctioned. They're being penalized for something that happened during the Amarius Mims recruitment. When he was potentially transferring from Georgia to FSU, they got caught up and the NCAA came down. And what exactly is the penalty and why are they serving it right now?
So the exact sanction is that Florida State can't recruit this first week of the transfer portal open. I know you're going to ask me what kind of impact it has. I don't think it's a huge impact, and the reason why is Florida State is one of those portal kings right next to Ole Miss and Colorado. I think that Florida State offers a lot that a transfer wants. We've already heard Jacoby Matthews circle them as a potential option. So I like Florida State to still make some noise in the portal. Obviously, really not being able to recruit the first week might make an impact. But at the same time, this is in December. The spring talent pool is not that big. And I think some athletes will wait on Florida State to really ramp up their recruitments.
Really interesting stuff there, Pete. Thank you for dropping by the Inside Scoop. We'll talk to you here soon.
You bet. Thanks so much, Josh.
Texas spring game this weekend. It'll be an opportunity to recruit, and Texas has some big names on campus this weekend. I got Justin Wells from Inside Texas in this video to take us behind the scenes of the Longhorn recruiting weekend. But first, Texas fans, do me a favor. Lock in, hit subscribe. I love talking Texas recruiting. You guys love watching Texas recruiting. Hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring in Justin Wells from Inside Texas. We got some big names, and I'm going to start. I got some questions here. Quarterback Keelan Russell, he's committed to SMU, but his recruitment has been blowing up. He's expected to be in Austin this weekend, but what's the deal with his recruitment to Texas?
Yeah, so this is definitely become one of the more interesting recruitments to watch. Keelan Russell's stock has been rising. Quarterback at Duncanville. He's throwing to some tremendous guys: DeCorian Moore, Zachary Turner, handing off to Caden Durham. But the truth is, Keelan Russell is a talented guy in and of itself. Commits to SMU early, gets his spot, and then all of a sudden, he starts blowing up. Yeah. Ole Miss offers, a handful of other SEC offers. And then about 3 weeks ago, he was at the Under Armour Next camp in Dallas.
Yep.
And he was clearly the best quarterback on campus. He was clearly the best guy. And if you watch him enough, he has a lot of upside, Josh. This is a guy that is easily a 4-star, could even climb a little bit higher. And so you think, well, what is Texas doing looking at a second quarterback? Call it due diligence, because KJ Lacey's in the mix, obviously the Saraland, Alabama kid, but Alabama and Auburn and Ole Miss aren't letting up on him, even though he's solid to Texas. So you have to watch that. You have to keep in contingencies. Two, Texas may have, this might be a 2-quarterback class. Like, we don't know what this could be yet.
Is it a 2-quarterback class, or are they hedging with KJ Lacey, because Lacey is kind of looking around himself a little bit?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I really do. And to add to that, I also feel like it could be a wild card to hold on to in November when the DeCorian Moore recruitment gets started, because that's his teammate and those guys are close. So there's a lot of little elements and data points to this recruitment that make it interesting. He's been talking to Sark and Coach A.J. Milwee. Milwee's going to come by Duncanville in a few weeks to watch him throw. They're going to keep him close because, I'll be honest with you, Josh, I love Lacey. I think he's got great feet, quick release, really accurate. But Keelan Russell's bigger, faster, a little bit stronger, and I think he has more upside. And I think that's what's intriguing to Sark and those guys. And so at the end of the day, he's got a spot at SMU. I don't think he probably ends up there. I think he's going to go bigger. A lot of other big schools have already come in and offered. Texas is bringing him in for that spring game. If they like what they see in the evaluation period in May rather, you could see him back on campus in the summertime. You got the DeCorian Moore factor, hedging for KJ Lacey. Just another reason to continue to watch and keep up at On3 Football Recruiting Show, because these things are moving. It's fluid, and Texas is constantly looking. This could be a 2-quarterback class. Think about it. With Quinn Ewers gone next year, there's only 2 scholarship quarterbacks on campus. I think Sark might want to bring in 2.
Okay, so if Justin Wells is running Longhorn recruiting, just walk with me here. If Justin Wells is running it and you can only have 1 quarterback, are you taking Keelan Russell or KJ Lacey?
Boy, you put me on the spot. Oh, man. I wasn't ready for that one. Oh, I think I take Keelan Russell. And that's tough. I really like Lacey. Nothing against Lacey. I think he's tremendous. I think he needs a couple years in the strength and conditioning program. I think he needs to get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Keelan just has some upside, Josh. The ball explodes out of his hand. We've seen him progressively get bigger over the last 2 years. He's playing at a school that predominantly runs the football, and he has forced that staff to throw the football because of his talent. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna by a small margin. I'm probably taking Russell.
I thought you were going to say that. That's why I asked the question.
Man, I just don't want to make it seem like I'm anti-KJ Lacey, because you know how the social media world works. If you like one, oh, you must hate the other, which is just silly. But I think both are tremendous. I just think Russell has a little bit more upside.
Yeah, his recruitment is absolutely blowing up. We're going to talk about him in some other videos down the road. But, yeah, Keelan Russell is a top tier quarterback right now and could be moving up the rankings as this cycle wears on. Let's talk about linebacker Riley Pettijohn, a fierce battle right now for the McKinney, Texas linebacker. Where do you feel Texas stands heading into this visit?
You know, I think it's Texas right now. I really do. I think, I said it a couple of weeks ago, him and Elijah Barnes are the two top priority linebackers in state for Johnny Nansen and Pete Kwiatkowski. And Barnes jumped in the boat last week. We knew it was coming. We didn't know exactly when, but Texas was trending pretty hardcore. I guess we should have known when he walked out of the facility a couple of weeks ago after an unofficial visit, and he had a Texas defensive workout book. So maybe that was a giveaway for Barnes. I think Pettijohn's in the same realm. Mm-hmm. I think this is a guy that he'll take some more visits. Ohio State really wants to get him back on campus. I know LSU's in the mix. Texas A&M wants to get in there. Michigan had been pushing off and on. But I would be surprised if it's not Texas. I don't think this is a commit watch, so to speak, but I do think Texas is getting closer. I do think he'll have a decision right after his official visits. This kid is not going into his senior year uncommitted. And so right now, Texas just needs to stay the course. They have been tremendous in building this relationship before they hired new linebacker coach Johnny Nansen from Arizona. Nansen's only picked up where they left off and done a tremendous job. The family is really big with the Texas staff, and that they love the culture and the way the program's building. So right now, I think it's Texas for Riley Pettijohn. This is a guy that ran what was a 10.6, 10.7 in the 100 a couple weeks ago. And for a linebacker at 6'2.5", 215, 220 pounds, that is absolutely fantastic. I like Texas. Don't sleep on Ohio State. LSU's going to creep. A&M's going to try to make a little dent. I could see USC trying to get him back out for an official visit, but I think it's going to be the Horns right after those official visits.
Yeah, I think he does take some official visits. I think Ohio State may be the team to watch there.
Yes.
Another one that seems like it's trending heavily in Texas' favor, not on the RPM, because if you read the RPM, James Simon's still trending heavily to LSU, but LSU took JT Lindsey last week, another in-state running back. Now they have two to couple him, Lindsey and Harlem Berry. And Tashard Choice, he's turning up the heat on James Simon. It just seems like this is going to be one where these two sides come together. Do you see it that way, and can Texas close it out this weekend?
I do see it that way, and I wouldn't be surprised if Texas closes it out this weekend. Not saying he's commit watch, but I will tell you, I think Texas, over the last 72 hours, has taken the lead in the James Simon sweepstakes. Like you said, LSU took another back in Lindsey last weekend. The domino effect is in full effect when it comes to the 2025 cycle. And, talking to sources close to the program, they love Simon. There's some things that James Simon does better than some of these other running back targets. And there's a reason Tashard Choice has maintained a relationship with this kid for well over a year. They love his upside. He has a lot to the field, 6 foot, 190 pounds. He does a lot. He's a talented guy. They went from talking about once a week to talking every other day. Okay. And so the thing I think is really key here is Simon still has a couple other trips. I think he's still going to see possibly Miami and A&M at the end of April, but he only has one official visit scheduled, and that's Texas on June 21st to the 23rd. I asked him, do you have any others that you're looking at setting up? He said, not right now.
Where's
that to me
RPM?
Is very in time. We've got to check a few more boxes. We got to confirm.
Are those boxes that you need to check more on Texas's side or James Simon's side?
Gosh, you're throwing the good ones at me today. I'm going to say they need to be checked on the James Simon side. I think he's convinced. He's been to Austin a half a dozen times already. His father, I caught up with him last night. They're all coming in Saturday. They're excited. And, like with Ricky Stewart, he didn't show up to Austin necessarily to commit, but he got kind of caught up in it, and he kind of knew that's where he wanted to go anyway. Mm-hmm. I think we could see something similar with Simon. Does he wait until that official visit in June, or does he get the spot? Right. Because Tashard Choice is pretty direct with these guys. Look, I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 guy on the list. I got one spot gone. If you want the other one, jump in the boat. And with LSU taking Lindsey, I think that jump-started what James Simon wants to do and needs to do. I would not be surprised if he wrapped it up this weekend. I think Texas does have a lead. You've tempted me now to potentially put in an RPM. Let me do a little bit more digging over the next 24 to 48 hours. Go to InsideTexas.com. We've been updating the recruiting visitor list. We've got some new guys coming in on that list. But James Simon's the one. I think him and Texas just make too much sense right now.
Yeah, and like you said, the QB dominoes are falling, but so are the running back dominoes. And exactly. If LSU, even if LSU was your number 2 team behind Texas, that is no longer a viable spot for you. You might start looking at Texas and say, well, they are my number 1, so maybe I'm going to jump on. So I agree with you. This leads me to my next question, another fastball right down the middle, though. Anyone on commit watch this weekend?
You know, that's a tough one. The 2 guys you'd already mentioned, Petty John would be one that I would think about, but I don't think he's ready. Mm-hmm. Simon's one that I think would be a little bit closer, but I want to, check a little bit more just to kind of see where he's at and if that's what he wants to do. I don't know, man. The last few events, they've had one guy leave committed. And I know they like that kind of momentum whenever they can generate that whenever those guys are on campus and they're in the moment and they're ready to decide. But, that being said, it's going to be interesting. I don't know if there's necessarily one I would say on commit watch, but there are 3 or 4, including like a Keelan Russell, where if that visit goes really well, like with a James Simon, if that visit goes really well, this recruitment could take a sharp turn. Yeah. And so, I can't think of any guys off the top of my head other than the ones we've kind of talked about. And don't forget, Texas has hosted some of their top targets, some of their best elite priority guys over the last couple of weeks. And there's one guy still that's going to be running in a track meet not too far away. And if for some reason he can get out of that track meet or something happens with the time or with the weather, you're looking at a 5-star Decorian Moore who could be back on campus, who was originally scheduled to be in Austin for the spring game anyway. And so a lot of moving parts. Not sure about commit watch, Josh. I wish I had something better for you, but I do think they get some things finalized with a handful of these guys. So because once April's over, the portal becomes the thing, and then now Sark's going to be able to shift into going off campus. These coaches are going to hit the road. And I think that's where we're going to see a little bit more senior evaluation, a little bit more junior offers, and really solidifying those June official visits. Who's going to be in, who's not going to be in, because July and August is going to be the best time to be at On3 and Inside Texas Recruiting, because I'm telling you, absolutely, it's going to be a wild one, and I cannot wait.
I mean, last summer, Texas was heading into summer recruiting sitting outside the top 20. Yes. So there's no real need to feel any panic. I hope anybody watching this doesn't think that we're insinuating that. I just mean, I agree with you about the commit watch, but I do think that there will be guys on campus this weekend that are not committed that end up signing with the Longhorns when it's all said and done.
Yes, I think so too. I'm telling you, I like Simon. I like Pettijohn. I like that they're keeping close tabs on Caleb Chester out of Fort Bend Marshall. Yeah, man, there's a handful of guys that are in the mix, but don't forget, Texas fans, Sark plays the long game. Mm-hmm. He does not pressure. He does not push, and it works.
It's worked so far.
It works. It's a system that he's been comfortable with. That's his temperament by nature. He doesn't feel like he needs to push or pressure anybody into making this decision. He wants it to be Texas and that alone. And so it's going to be interesting. This class is going to look drastically different probably by the 2nd or 3rd week in July.
All right, Texas fans, tap in with me. Comment section below. How are we feeling about the big weekend coming up in the spring game? Also, I'll pose you the same question. Who you taking, KJ Lacey or Keelan Russell? If you could only take one, let me know. Comment section below. Coach Prime and the Buffs are waking up on the recruiting trail. A couple big names are now trending to Colorado on the On3 recruiting prediction machine. I got On3 national analyst Steve Wiltfong on to talk about a couple recruits that could end up being Buffaloes here soon. But first, Colorado fans, do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Buffs recruiting is heating up. Jump on board. All right, let's bring on my friend Steve Wiltfong. We're talking trending to Colorado here. The spring game is in about a week. We got some recruits that are trending. Alex Graham, IMG Academy, set his commitment date for April 26th. Do you like where Colorado stands coming into this? We're about a week out from his decision.
I do indeed. Talking to sources with knowledge of the recruitment, they like the position that Colorado is in at this point in the process. Colorado offered in February, but this is a young man that they've had on the radar for a long time. You know, programs like Michigan, Penn State have certainly made an impression. He posted an edit on social media showing love to Alabama and Oregon and a couple of others, but Colorado well positioned for one of their top targets here in the 2025 cycle, heading into their spring game weekend in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks.
Another prospect that's going to be out there is Montrez Walker. He's out of Buford, Georgia. So Coach Prime going back into the state of Georgia where he's already had some success last cycle. What does Colorado need to do to close this one out? I know there's a lot of interest there.
Well, a former Michigan commit that's also taken some visits to places like Ole Miss and Miami. He went to Colorado in the fall for a game and fell in love. His relationship with Coach Hart and that staff has really resonated with him, and he sees an opportunity to play early. Colorado has made him feel like he is their number one guy on the board at the linebacker position. He will be at the spring game, and this is lining up very well for the Buffaloes.
Now, tight end Corbin Lesher out of Tennessee is one that the Buffaloes have targeted. He goes 6'5", 218 pounds. When do you think Corbin could be ready to make a decision, and do you like where the Buffaloes stand in this one?
Yeah, my RPM is on Colorado. They also had him on campus for a game in the fall where he got a chance to soak in the atmosphere and energy around Deion Sanders' program and the outstanding fan support that Colorado has. This kid's just a pure football player. He's one of the best two-way players in the state of Tennessee. He is dominant on both sides of the ball. And this is a guy that Colorado has identified that they want in their program, and it's trending well for them as we talked this morning.
Yeah, so those are three guys heading into next week's spring game that you like to end up being Buffaloes, either in the short term or the long term, but right now they are trending to Colorado. Now, we can't talk Colorado recruiting without talking the quarterback position. With Shedeur Sanders moving on after this season, it is imperative that they land a big name. We know that they've been recruiting TJ Lateef, but Juju Lewis, he's the big name. Julian Lewis committed to USC, being recruited by everybody in the South, including Auburn, Alabama, Georgia. But Juju Lewis has set an official visit to Colorado in late June. Steve, explain why the Buffs shouldn't be overlooked in this recruitment.
And Deion Sanders and his coaching staff, they're trying to get him on campus for the spring game. They are hoping for an electric event in Boulder. He's already taken 2 visits to Colorado this calendar year. The family likes what they've heard and seen from Coach Shermer. They made it to a spring practice, thought the offense was fast and looked explosive. And it's an opportunity for him to come in and play right away as a true freshman. So that's also what makes Colorado exciting. Now, they're certainly in the middle of a battle. You know, he's obviously been committed to USC since last fall. Visited USC a few weeks ago, but it's still going to be a challenge for the Trojans to hang on here. There are a lot of people around Auburn that feel good about Auburn's position right now. Talking to the Lewis camp after 2 visits this spring, I know that they're real excited about Auburn too, from Hugh Freeze's track record of developing quarterbacks to the explosive receivers that they recruited last cycle. They see Auburn as a place that Julian could be real successful. So when I look at the 2 programs right now that are the biggest threat to flip Julian Lewis from USC, Auburn and Colorado is where my list starts. Now, we'll see what happens with Alabama, Josh. Their coaches are about to get on the road. They get into Tuscaloosa. They get Austin Mack, who they recruited to Washington, to transfer over. Ty Simpson's not going in the portal. So that quarterback room's in good shape. Coach Nick Sheridan and that staff can now get on the road, go watch quarterbacks throw live. We know that they're also been talking to Deuce Knight, who's currently committed to Notre Dame, but it'll be real interesting to see what Alabama's quarterback board looks like. Julian Lewis does not have an official visit scheduled with them right now, but with Georgia likely going in another direction at the quarterback position, we like Ryan Montgomery to Georgia right now. Maybe Alabama takes that official visit weekend that Georgia's currently locked in for May 31st, or maybe he still visits them in the fall as planned. But Auburn and Colorado, certainly 2 programs that Julian Lewis is thinking hard about alongside his commitment to USC.
Yeah, Colorado positioning themselves well heading into this upcoming spring game. High school recruiting starting to heat up. You guys tap in with me. Who do you think is going to be Colorado's next commitment? Comment section below. Thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed that, go check out the hundreds of videos that we have on this channel, and also do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel.